Aloha. This one is kind of fun. I love these studies they do with dogs. Look at him, isn't he cute? And he's in the MRI machine, he's got toys. Okay, so this one, I don't know if you remember a while back, there was an MRI, they did an MRI scan of dogs. What was it they were doing? I think they were trying to determine I can't remember what they were doing. They were doing something where they were putting dogs into MRIs, and I think it had to do with I can't remember, but I remember reading about that a while back. And so this is kind of, I think it's the same people that are doing this study. And this one is how dogs process words. So like when you tell your dog, and the example they use is squirrel. You say squirrel, squirrel, and the dog runs to the window. Well, is the dog going little fluffy thing with, little furry rodent with a tail? Or is it just going, oh, he said that word, that means there's something out there, and so he runs to the window. Yeah. So that's what they're trying to figure out, is does the dog associate the word you're saying with the actual object? And I meant to look this up. I'm going to have to link it below. There was a video I saw, and I think it was on YouTube, of a dog who knows like some extraordinary amount of words. He has like this whole big, massive pile of stuffed animals, like 100 stuffed animals. And you can tell him, get Piggy, and he'll go into the middle of the pile of stuffed animals and pull out the pig. Every stuffed animal has a name, and that dog can pick out every stuffed animal. You can hide them, and he'll go find them. He'll bypass all the other stuffed animals until he gets to that stuffed animal. This dog, if I remember right, it was a golden retriever. I can't remember offhand for sure, but it's a very intelligent animal, which also reminds me of a book that I think it was Dean Koontz wrote about a dog with an amazing brain. Anyway, this article was published in Frontiers in Neuroscience, and I picked it up on, I'll link it down below, but it was basically Emory University, because the researchers were from Emory University. So what they are trying to do is, the results suggest that dogs have at least a rudimentary neural representation of meaning for words that they have been taught, differentiating words they have heard before from those they have not. So they wanted to get data from the dogs, not just from the owners saying, oh yeah, my dog knows that. They wanted to see what happened in the dog's brain as they were saying these words. So let's see, researchers focused on questions surrounding the brain mechanisms dogs use to differentiate between words, or even what constitutes a word to a dog. And Gregory Burns is a neuroscientist at Emory University, the senior author of the study, and a founder of the Dog Project, which is researching evolutionary questions surrounding dogs. The first project was to train dogs to voluntarily enter an MRI tube without restraint, without sedation. Gotta love that. And remain motionless. That's a hard one. And then other studies they've done is dogs' neural response to expected reward, identifying specialized areas in the dog brain for processing faces, demonstrating olfactory responses to human and dog odors, and linking prefrontal function to inhibitory control. don't know that one. So they used 12 dogs of varying breeds, trained by their owners to retrieve 2 different objects based on the objects' names. One object is a soft texture, like a stuffed toy, and the other object is a harder texture, like a rubber ball or rubber bone. Let's see. Training was considered complete when a dog showed it could discriminate between the 2 objects, consistently fetching the one requested by the owner. So, during one experiment, the trained dog lay in the MRI scanner while the dog's owner stood directly in front of the dog at the opening of the machine and said the names of the dog's toys at set intervals, then showed the dog the corresponding toys. Eddie, a golden retriever lab mix, for instance, heard his owner say the words piggy or monkey. Then his owner held up the matching toy. And I think that is... sorry, I pulled on the microphone cord and it toppled the phone. Okay, this is Eddie, and there's Monkey and Piggy. So, Eddie's adorable, isn't he? Oh, I could just smush that face. Okay, so Eddie, where am I? Piggy or Monkey. Then his owner held up the matching toy. As a control, the owner then spoke gibberish words such as babu and badmik, then held up novel objects like a hat or a doll. So something not the monkey or the piggy. The results showed greater activation in auditory regions of the brain to the novel pseudo words relative to the trained words. So in other words, when babu and badmik and hat and doll showed up, the dog had to start thinking, oh my, what is this? What have I seen it before? Have I heard it before? What's going on? So they're discriminating, neurally, they're discriminating between the words they know and the words they don't. And apparently it's the opposite in humans. We being people, typically show greater neural activation for known words than we do for unknown words. Okay. The researchers hypothesize, they don't know, they're just guessing, that the dogs may show greater neural activation to a novel word because they sense their owners want them to understand what they are saying, and they're trying to do so. They want to please their owners. And maybe because we give them food. Oh, good boy, here's a treat. And so they know they're going to get a treat if they get it right. Half of the dogs in the experiment showed increased activation for the novel words in their parietotemporal cortex. The other half of the dogs showed heightened activity to novel words in the other brain regions, including other parts of the left temporal cortex and amygdala, caudate nucleus, and the thalamus. The differences could be related to limitation of the study, the varying range in breeds and sizes of the dogs, as well as possible variations in their cognitive abilities. So they're not saying that's like a given for all dogs. They're just saying, it could be because of the research they were doing. It could be one of those, outlying factors. Dogs have varying capacity and motivation for learning and understanding human words, but they appear to have a neural representation for the meaning of words they've been taught beyond just a low-level Pavlovian response. The conclusion does not mean that spoken words are the most effective way for an owner to communicate with a dog. Just because we think it's the best way doesn't necessarily mean it's the best way for the dog. Let's see. Other research, also led by Pritchard and Burns and recently published in Scientific Reports, showed that the neural reward system of dogs is more attuned to visual and to scent cues than to verbal ones. So I guess this is why when we give them treats that they learn. Also clicker training, thinking about it. You know, my dog really cued into the clicker training with the treats. So I don't know if it was a combination or if it was the treats themselves. But he also learned, my dog Tucker, my beautiful, wonderful Tucker. He also learns by mimicking. When we first moved to Hawaii and we were staying in a house, we were renting a room in a house from someone who had 2 dogs. And this woman was teaching her dog to, she was training him as a service dog. And so she was teaching him to press for an elevator button. So every night she would do press, and he would hit his paw to her hand. And so one day Tucker just kind of went, I can do that, and started coming up in the air at me. And then, you know, of course, it's like, because she would do this and then give him a treat when he did it. And so Tucker's like, I can do that. What's the big deal? You know. Okay, so. Okay, and then Pritchard says, from the dog's perspective, however, a visual command might be more effective, helping the dog learn the trick faster. Okay, then it goes on and it just lists the co-authors of the paper and everything, so which I will link the paper below and the article I found. And I just love research. I love doing these ones on researches for dogs because they're just so fun. I love knowing how my dog works, how his mind works. And so, if you haven't already, go ahead and click the subscribe and the like button. And if you have any questions, comment below. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.